You're listening to Adventures in Autism. Each episode, we will bring you the latest in news regarding autism, as well as our personal story and the topic of the week. We are not medical professionals, and none of the information that we give should be taken as such. Instead, we are parents of a severely autistic child. We are here to share our lives and our personal experiences with you. If you would like to know more about our personal story or access any of our other podcasts, you may do so through openeyesnetwork.com. If you would like to share your personal story with us, you may send an email to feedback@openeyesnetwork.com or access our Facebook fan page at Open Eyes Network, as well as our Twitter feed at Open Eyes Network. Thanks for listening. Well, hello there, and welcome to the introduction episode of Adventures in Autism. My name is Ira Robinson, and I'm here with my wife, Jolene Robinson. Jolene, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Most certainly. We would like to welcome you guys to this inaugural episode of a show that we hope will bring, I guess, a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of education, a little bit of an impetus to understanding autism from the perspectives of parents of autistic children. We have other podcasts that are available as well. If you want to go to any of them, we have quite the archive available at our website, openeyesnetwork.com. We have a show called Open Eyes, which is generally about speaking about the truth, conspiracy theories, you name it, we cover it, paranormal, all of that kind of good stuff. And then another show that we do is called Brothers at Arms, which is with myself and my brother Joe Long, who comes on with me every week, and we talk about opposing viewpoints on the issues of the day. And somewhere in the middle is the truth. So, but yes, today we are bringing you Adventures in Autism. We wanted to tell you our story in this first episode so that those of you who are out there listening can have an understanding of where we're coming from, why we're doing the show that we do, and essentially the background so that you guys can understand us. That's kind of how we look at it. You know, to become friends, you have to know somebody, and so you have to know their background, you have to know their story. So that's what we're doing here. We have a son named Seth. Seth is severely autistic. Now, we wanted to tell you his story, and unfortunately he's not with us at the moment to be able to add to his story at all, but he was looking forward to it, but we're recording at a time that he's not available at the moment. So, but to tell the story, basically, to begin with, Seth, when he was quite young, was above average in everything. He was ahead of the curve on the whole kit and caboodle. He learned how to talk early, learned how to walk early. He was potty trained early. Everything basically looked like it was going really well, and things were on track to having him be quite the normal kid, basically. And then at the age of 2.5, he had his MMR vaccines, the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. And immediately afterward, we began to notice deep changes occurring within our son. It was within a matter of just 2 weeks, basically, that this all ended up occurring. He got very sick after the vaccine was given to him. And when he got sick, his fever rose to quite drastic levels, to the point where we had to actually take him to the emergency room because we were so concerned about the temperature being so high. And when we got to the hospital, essentially in order to get the fever to come down, they iced him down quite a bit, and they also gave a Tylenol, in a syringe, basically, not an injection, but in the syringe, no needle. We were very concerned about the way that they were trying to do it. He was fighting them to get the medicine down, basically. That was the way he was. He hated taking medicine. Still does. And still does, I think, because of this incident. Anyways, the nursing staff that was there, they pinned him down. Again, a 2.5-year-old child, pinned him down, forced his mouth open, and squirted this huge dose of Tylenol into his mouth. And immediately he aspirated it. He sucked quite a bit of it down into his lungs. He was choking, he was gagging, he was throwing up all over the place. And as soon as he got calmed down, they did it again. But this time he ended up getting the dose down. So basically, about an hour and a half later or so, his fever had come down some. So the emergency room staff sent us home. He was no longer acute, so they just had us take him home. And he got better slowly. It took some time, but he did get better. And after he got better from this incident occurring, he started to lose everything that he had gained, to the point where he could no longer walk, he could no longer talk, he couldn't manipulate small objects, he lost his potty training. I mean, literally, when I say that he lost everything, he lost everything. We were left with essentially a nearly 3-year-old infant at this point.
Just to start things off, to let you all know, I am not Seth's biological mother. I am stepmother. So most of what I was saying, I saw secondhand. I was not there, but I was there. I had known Seth since he was actually still in his real mother's womb. So I saw a lot of this, as an outsider. I saw him when he was younger, when he was, I was not joking, he was on par. I remember I'd go over and visit, and he'd have his little doodle pad and show me he can do the whole alphabet and, write it all and whatnot, and didn't think anything of it. And then during the time that he was sick, after the MMR shot, I did see him once. And yeah, he was really sick. And I didn't see them too much afterwards, so I didn't really see the fall so much. I saw more of the results of the fall. I don't think I came over once and saw him at all when it was beginning to fall. I pretty much saw him. He was fine, and then he was sick, and then he's pretty much, I was highly confused as to what happened to him and why he was acting this way.
Right, exactly. He was essentially what we were given as a diagnosis eventually was that he did have autism, and that the type of autism that he had is specifically one that's called childhood disintegrative disorder. Childhood disintegrative disorder, or CDD, is a rare one under the pervasive developmental disorder field, the autistic umbrella, basically. It's one of the rare ones, thankfully, because I would hate to see another parent go through all of this. But essentially, unless things get reinforced with him on a constant basis, he loses everything. So anything that he learns, it's sort of basically a 1 step forward and 2 steps back sort of a situation with the way that his mind works. And he's been that way basically ever since this time period occurred. It took us a very long time to get him back walking, back to being able to manipulate objects, back to being able to talk at all. And when he did talk, he was very stridently talking. It was a very difficult quest for him to do. And even up until about a year and a half ago, he was not even potty trained yet. So at this point in time, he is just about 14 years old. So again, we basically had to raise him again from infancy all over again. And he's never reached the heights that he had reached before, essentially.
Yeah. It's been an uphill, struggle to try and get him to where, even what he used to be before it all happened. I mean, it was a long time going. I mean, it was quite a few years before he was able to talk reasonable sentences, because for a long time, for example, certain words would mean an umbrella term of different things. For example, the word more would mean anything along the lines of more food, drink, milk. I mean, you just kind of had to, use context clues. Does he have a cup in his hand? More, okay, he wants more of that, and you pour it. No, he meant milk this time, or or he wanted cookies for his milk, or it was an umbrella term, and for many years that's how he communicated, is by saying like just a few handful of words, and it meant an umbrella of different ways, different words and whatnot. And he would even make up words, and it would mean these things. And it was a big ordeal trying to get him to be able to speak coherently. But thankfully he's a lot better now. I mean, he can go out into public and he can say something to someone and they can understand what he's saying.
Yeah, it used to be up until about 2 years ago, if we were to go somewhere and he was trying to speak to somebody, which he rarely does, but when he would try to speak to somebody, they would look at us, asking us basically what was he saying. I mean, the people who knew him were basically the only ones that could understand what he was trying to get across. Overall, it's been a fight. It's been a really big struggle to get him to the point that he's at right now. And what we want to do basically with this show is essentially, hopefully, teach people or show people the things that we've gone through with our child and with the rest of our children as well, because we do have 2 other children. One of them is an adult child, but the other one is 11 years old. So his sister is named Crystal. She's still at home with all of us. So we've encountered a lot of things over the years that have been really good working with him, and then other things that have been really bad ideas. So what we wanted to do with the show is to basically express to you guys out there who are listening, if you have either autistic children yourself, or you're curious about autism, you want to learn more about it, or if you are someone who works with autistic kids, or even just, if you have been impacted by autism in any way, we would like to have this show basically be a resource for people from a firsthand perspective, basically, of parents who have been there, done that with different things. So some of the topics that we plan on talking about with this show are things like different games that we've found that work really well with him, or that he's responded well with, different objects or toys or things along those lines that we've had either good results with or bad results with, because we've had both. We spent a lot of money basically trying to go through this learning process with him, and there are things that just did not work. And I don't know if they would really work with anybody, So instead of going out and wasting your time and money on trying to figure it out for yourself or for your kids, maybe we can help you out with it. We've got a lot of experience basically in a lot of different areas when it comes to dealing with a child who has autism. And basically we hope to be just a resource for people out there. And I don't know if you guys heard it in the intro, but we also are more than happy to invite people to come to our show. If you have autistic kids yourself, or if you have any kind of, connection as far as autism is concerned, we would love to have you on the show to do an interview with you. Come on and tell your story. We would love to hear it. We'd love to interact with other parents that are out there, or with other people that are out there that have this in their lives. So if you would like to have that, please let us know. You can send us an email at feedback@openeyesnetwork.com, or you can go to our website, openeyesnetwork.com, and go to our Contact Us page that's on there. Really hard to miss. It's on the menu right there on the top of the page. And let us know. You can leave a comment, or it'll send a private message to us basically. And if you go to our website as well, we're part of a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week network of shows that are played. It's the Late Night in the Midlands Network. And because it's a 24-hour station, basically, it's an internet radio station. It's also broadcast on the terrestrial stations. We have a chat room that's available as well. So you can go to our Listen Live page and come to the chat room there, and you'll probably see us there. We're pretty much there all the time. Somebody is. So we'd be happy to hear from you, and happy to basically express your story out there as well.
And who knows, we might even learn something from you, because let's just be honest, we don't know everything ourselves either.
Exactly. The thing is, one of the reasons why we wanted to do this is because, look, autism is on the rise. There's no denying that fact. In the early 2000s, it was approximately 1 in 1,000 children that had autism. And now, as of the year 2013, the last numbers that were released by the Centers for Disease Control, the numbers are now 1 in 50. And they're estimating that by the year 2025, 1 in every 2 children will be diagnosed as autistic if the trend continues the way that it's going. So autism is on the rise. There is going to come a point in time where no family out there has been unaffected by autism in one way, shape, or form. So we wanted to make sure to make ourselves available for people that are just finding out, hey, we just found out our kid has been diagnosed with autism. What am I going to do now? Well, we've been there. We'd like to help be a support system for that.
Yeah, we'll help you. We'll let you know, like, the ups and downs that we've dealt with, and the tips and tricks and everything we've gone through. I mean, everything up to having a sibling, the child having a sibling and how that works out, and, just, on and on.
Yeah, exactly. Each week, basically, we plan on bringing a different topic to the show. And we'll bring you the newest news, basically, that we've been able to find regarding autism. We didn't do that this time around, of course, because this is our introductory episode, and we want to make this kind of the headquarters of the show, essentially. So, we didn't want to do something that would be time restrictive, essentially. So listen, people, we're going to go ahead and take a break here real quick. And when we come back, we're going to get more into the story, the background of what we've been through. And hopefully you guys stick around. So we'll be right back. Open Eyes is dedicated to finding the truth in all matters. We are not afraid to be politically incorrect or to ask questions. Whether it is the paranormal, government cover-ups, the dark agenda that the puppet masters have in store for us, or aliens and UFOs, nothing remains hidden. Listen to Open Eyes, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on LateNightInTheMidlands.com or OpenEyesNetwork.com. Open hearts, open minds, open eyes. Transmission. So I'll admit it, I'm a geek. I love anything science fiction or fantasy. I love to collect things that are related to the things that I like. There's a place that I go to find unique things. It's an Etsy shop that's called The Geeky Stitcher. They have some amazing and one-of-a-kind handcrafted collectibles on a lot of my favorite science fiction and fantasy-related shows and movies. You know, geek stuff. They have things like gloves that look just like the TARDIS from Doctor Who. They have crocheted figures from Star Trek, Disney movies, even Navi from The Legend of Zelda. They're all made with love, and they have a unique style, and best of all, they're cheaply priced. They'll even do custom orders. All you have to do is let them know what you would like to see made, and they'll get right on it. Check them out today at thegeekystitcher.etsy.com, or you can also go to their Facebook fan page, which is found at The Geeky Stitcher. Go there today. I'm sure you guys will find something that you would really, really love.
The L&M Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information and subscribe today. Information on becoming an L&M subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you.
My name is Ira Robinson, and I'm here with my wife, Jolene Robinson.
Hello.
And, if you guys want to help to support the show and the things that we do at Open Eyes Network all the way around, if you go to audibletrial.com/open eyes, you can not only get the ability to help us out a little bit, but you also get a free book of your choice. They have hundreds of thousands of audiobooks there that you can get access to. Your first one is free just for taking the free trial, and it would be really appreciated. Go there and give us a little bit of support. That would be really awesome of you. So before we hit the break there, we're talking a little bit about the history of our family and some of the things that we've gone through as far as with Seth is concerned. And we wanted to also go into the schooling issue that we've had with him and give, I guess, a really good background and basis for where we're at today, essentially, with him. So for a number of years, we had him in regular public school. He was in special education classes 100% of the time for a few years. And then for about 2 years, he was in the special education classes, but also in more regular classes as well, because he had progressed to the point where they could essentially have him in those regular classes and not be so concerned about it. But at this point in time, things have changed.
So he was in a regular classroom for about, 75% of the day?
About that.
And then the rest of the time it would be split up in special education class, as well as working with a speech therapist, and I always forget the other one.
Occupational therapy.
Yeah, thank you. I always forget that one. And there's this was what made us decide to go ahead and homeschool him. We live in the state of Indiana, and thankfully in the state of Indiana, homeschooling is relatively easy. Before finding that out, we had always been interested in homeschooling, but we didn't really look much into it. Not fully. Not
very seriously.
Yeah, not very seriously, but this pushed us to having to do it. At the time, he was in 3rd grade. No, he was in 4th grade. He was in 4th grade. And he was at school. I was home from work that day, and we get a call, and it's the principal. So, I'm talking to the principal, and she says, "Hello, I'm calling you to let you know that there's an incident at school involving your son, Seth." I'm thinking, okay, what did he do? And she said, at recess today, he spit at a kid. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, "We realize it was an accident, but we're just making sure both kids call their parents to inform each other that this has happened." And all that goes to my mind is, okay, so if it was an accident, if you're saying it's an accident, then why am I being called about this?
Yeah, why make a big deal out of it?
Yeah, if it was an innocent spit and you admit yourself it was an accident, why am I being called for an accidental spit? I mean, some people talk and accidentally spit. He's not really that kind of person, but either way, why would I be called because he accidentally spit at a kid? I don't know, it just didn't make any sense. And I could hear Seth in the background crying, and she said, "Just to let you know, I've already had a word with him. His classroom teacher already had a word with him. His special education teacher already talked to him. The recess aides, because that's when this happened, was at recess. The recess aides, they already talked to him." I mean, she just kind of said everybody pretty much talked to him already. And I'm thinking,
yeah, it was like a list of 10 different people had already had a discussion with him about this incident.
And it's like, okay, so if this is an accident, why is everyone having a word with him? Do you guys not realize he has autism? This is not... He's going to think he's in terrible, in terrible... what am I trying to think
Trouble.
of? Trouble, yeah, I think he was in terrible trouble for all this. So she says, "So I have him here in the office, and I want him to talk to you a little bit about it." It's like, okay. So she goes to hand over the phone, and in between time, she must have thought she covered the mouthpiece or whatnot, because she didn't. And I heard her say, "Now you shut up, stop your crying, and tell your mother exactly what you did." I'm thinking, what? So she hands the phone to Seth, and of course he's just crying his eyes out. And he's trying to tell me what's going on, and it's kind of hard to hear him because he's just crying so hard. But eventually it gets worked out. I can understand that he said he went to recess. They line up to go to recess. They go outside. And just when they were allowed to get out of the line, he accidentally bumped into the kid in front of him. Instead of saying, "Excuse me," he bumped into the kid. And that's when the incident happened. Now, he said he did not spit at the kid. What happened is he accidentally licked the kid. Now, that makes sense. Now, explain why. Earlier that day, before going to school, he had been kind of stuffy and runny-nosy. And, I mean, it wasn't like runny, but I mean, he was kind of stuffy. But at this point in time, because of other issues, we had already had him home from school. He missed a lot of days from school because of other things that had come up. And we were giving a notice not long ago saying that we've already reached like more than half the days that he could miss in a school year, and it was only like October.
Yeah, it was only like a month and a half after school had begun.
Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of concerning, but it's like, okay, well, he's autistic, and the reasons he's missing school is valid reasons why.
Right, they were excused absences.
Yeah, they were all excused, but we apparently reached the limit, even though he's autistic and special needs, and I don't know. But anyway, so that morning, like I said, he was stuffy-nosed, and originally our impulse would be to keep him home because of the autism. He does have, a weakened immune system, but he didn't complain about the idea of going to school. He woke up, he got dressed, he didn't once say he didn't feel good or didn't want to go to school. We gave him medicine, but he still didn't, say anything. So we thought, okay, if he's not saying that he wants to stay home, if he's not, complaining about school, we'll go ahead and let him go, okay? It was a Thursday anyways. He had one more day anyways, so we're just like, we'll just let him go. So whenever he goes outside and he does have a stuffy nose, he usually sticks his tongue out. He's always been that way. If he goes outside and he's stuffy-nosed, for whatever reason, he'll walk around outside with his nose.
It's just his habit.
Yeah, with his tongue sticking out. So what I think happened is he bumped into the kid, and his tongue was sticking out. And so the kid bumped into him, not realizing it was his tongue, because, how many people actually keep their tongues sticked out when they're outside, and so is convinced that Seth spit at him instead of, his tongue was just out and they bumped into each other, and that's what happened. So.
Right. And to explain as well, Seth is not a spitter. That is something that he just does not do. He finds it to be absolutely horrific. He even trying to do toothpaste, he hates even spitting out toothpaste. So, I mean, he just does not spit. So when I heard about what was going on, my first instinct was that there's definitely not something right with this story that's happening.
Yeah.
So in the process of everything, basically because of the incident that ended up happening at school, when he came home, his normal habit would be to immediately take his clothes off and go into his room, turn on all of the lights because he was scared of any kind of darkness at all, and essentially go through the day from that point.
Yeah, he'd come in the door and we can't even get the door closed without him already stripping down to his underwear.
Exactly.
Well, underpants or pull-ups at the time,
yeah.
but...
So, just because he's tactily sensitive, he can't stand anything on his torso or anything at all, really.
And even if he wasn't in his bedroom, he'd always have his room light on. He never wanted it off.
Right, exactly. But when he came home that day, he still had all of his clothes on. He walked into his room, didn't turn the light on, left the door open, but he didn't turn the light on, and he basically just laid on his bed and cried for the next 8 or so hours. He was completely devastated by this event.
We even had his favorite dinner that night. We were already in the midst of making it anyways, and usually, even if he was absolutely sick, he would still eat, this food because it was his favorite food. And we couldn't even get him to take 2 bites of it. He took a bite and that was it. And he
barely wanted to even come out of his room.
Yeah. I mean, we barely got him to drink anything with all the crying. We barely got him to drink anything. We barely got him to eat. He was pale. We took his temperature. I mean, he bottomed out. The bus driver, he rode a disability bus. And his sister would ride with him just because it was more convenient to do it that way.
Yeah, they went to the same school.
They went to the same school, and she rode on the bus with him, both for support for him. And like I said, it was just easier because otherwise we'd have to just drive her, and they were okay with her just riding the bus with him. And the bus driver, his stop would usually be like halfway down on the list. And she ended up dropping him off first. She called us and said, "I'm dropping off your son first. There's something wrong. I don't know." She didn't know what was going on. And yeah, he came in and immediately his sister's like, "Something's wrong with Seth. I don't know what it is." And we're like, "We know. It's okay. We know." And I mean, he came in the door and he thought he was going to get holy terror from us. I mean, he flinched away from us. He didn't want anything to do with it. And usually daddy's the more, punishment giving. And, when, Ira came over to talk to him, he just pretty much just was
scrambled
terrified.
away from me. He was terrified, and that's not him. He doesn't ever react that way to me under any circumstances. So, I mean, the whole thing basically was a devastating event to him. We kept him home the next day just because we weren't going to let him go.
No.
With this whole situation that was going on.
Yeah, that same night we were like, "You're not going to school tomorrow."
And starting that night, we started looking very seriously into doing the homeschooling. We found out that in Indiana, for those of you parents who are out there in Indiana, this is really good if you haven't heard about this yet. But in Indiana, they're actually very, very good about supporting people that want to homeschool their children. It's our option basically to teach them whatever it is that we want to teach them. You don't have to have any kind of special certification or anything. The only thing that we had to do was inform the principal of the school that they would be attending that they would be homeschooled from that point on, so that they would not be considered to be truant by being absent. So they basically were removed from the records when we went in and told them that they were going to be pulled out and that we would be homeschooling them from that point on. The only thing that we have to do basically is make sure that they have school the same amount of days as those in public school do. So if they're in for 180 days, our kids have to have school for 180 days. So we found a lot of benefits as far as homeschooling are concerned. And it's really been a blessing for us because, I mean, at that point, Seth had pretty much progressed in school with the public schooling about as much as we figured that he was going to. He had basically reached a wall with them at that point, and it was becoming an act of frustration for him. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and just to put into some people, may argue about the social aspect of him being homeschooled. He won't get the social interaction. But to be quite honest, the unfortunate thing was that the schools, the side of town we live in, and the school system, the schools in the surrounding area that he went to, he honestly wasn't going to get any social interaction because unfortunately a lot of the kids, like almost 95% of the kids in every classroom, were Burmese. And
they didn't speak any English, so he had no concept of understanding anything that was going on culturally or language-wise with them anyways. So
exactly. So it was
a difficult situation.
Yeah, so it was pretty much at that point in time, the reason he was supposed to be in a regular classroom, pretty much the main reason he was in a regular classroom was, number one, because academically he could perform a good amount of what he was supposed to. Once he reached 4th grade, we were starting to have a lot of issues with that. But also, number two, because of the social interaction part. But for example, when he was in 3rd grade, he was the only naturally born English-speaking kid in his class, because I went on field trips with him and stuff, and he was the only one in 3rd grade that was a naturally born English-speaking kid. All the rest were either Burmese or there was one Korean kid. And that was it.
Right, but none of them could speak English in any kind of decent way, basically. They were all foreign born and had just basically come here within the past year to year and a half. So they hadn't even learned English themselves at that point. But yeah, so anyways, he had basically reached a point where he was at a wall with it all. And since we've been homeschooling him, he's been actually progressing forward a lot more than he did when he was in the public school. So, there's been a really good benefit, kind of, I guess the silver lining on the cloud, you could say. We have the belief that everything happens for a reason, and this would be the reason, because he had reached that point where he was just not progressing any further. And so, again, the cloud silver lining kind of thing, that it's been beneficial overall. But that's the basic background of what we've gone through, education wise with him. And, of course, both of our children that are at home, they're both homeschooled. We have them both homeschooled. We're not just doing Seth, but, again, those are things that we'll get into in later shows as well. We will talk about things that we've found as far as homeschooling is concerned that would maybe be a good resource for you guys out there. And on all of our episodes, we will provide show notes for each of our shows on our website where we'll have the archives for these shows available for you guys. And on those show notes, we'll make available a lot of resources for you guys to go to, either websites that we've found or products that we found, whatever it may be. We'll make those resources available for you guys so that you can make use of them as well. Again, we want to do this show as a way to help other people out that are going through this kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about different topics, and if there's a specific topic or a question that you have that you would like us to cover, again, you can contact us at feedback@openeyesnetwork.com. We'll talk about whatever you're interested in. So if there's something you really want to hear, feel free to contact us. Or you can also go to the openeyesnetwork.com and go to the contact page, and you can write to us from there as well. And we'll read it. We check our mail, every day, and we'll get back with you.
Exactly. Like I said, we want to be a resource for you guys. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this introductory episode. We expect that we will be doing this show once a week. And if we have the time for it, we'll do maybe an extra episode during the week as well. But that's essentially what we're shooting for, is to do the episodes once per week. and we will make them available as archives immediately. You'll be able to listen to the shows. We don't have the exact times scheduled yet, but if you go to our website, openeyesnetwork.com, you'll find us on the radio schedule there. You can also listen to the radio station that we're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year by going to our website, openeyesnetwork.com. And every page has the player available. We also are at latenightinthemidlands.com. And you can, again, go to the chat and listen page on that network website as well and hear everything that's going on. There are many shows that are available, and I think that you guys would enjoy basically everything that you hear. So do you have any final words, hon?
No, not really. Just know that you're not alone, and we're here to help and hopefully put some hope in your lives, if you're dealing with someone close to you that has this going on with them.
Exactly. You guys are not alone with it all. As I said, it's becoming something that's really growing prevalent, and it's unfortunate, but at least there are people that are out there that have been through it, and you can have some hope with it all because of that. So if you want to go to the show notes for this show, go to openeyesnetwork.com/AA001. If you want to send us an email, again, you can send it to feedback@openeyesnetwork.com. If you want to go to our Facebook or Twitter pages, we are at Open Eyes Network or Ira Robinson on both of those platforms. And again, we answer everything as soon as we possibly can. We're pretty much on it all the time. So we're available for you guys. And so again, if you guys have any of your own personal stories that you'd like to tell, you can either send us your story and we can read it on air, or you can come on yourself by contacting us at feedback@openeyesnetwork.com and letting us know your story and that you'd like to come on with us, and we will be happy to have you with us. So until next time, guys, keep safe out there and have fun. And thank you so much for listening. Again, openeyesnetwork.com/AA001 for the show notes for this show.